You're listening to Coast Pinball. This is Teresa. You know, the girl with the high score on Nate's Twilight Zone.
Wow!
Yeah, folks, she just has to rub it in. Welcome to Coast2Coast Pinball. This is Nate Shivers. Teresa made her debut to rub it in my face that, here's the deal. She set the high score on my Twilight Zone right out of the gate. I took it back. I got in there. I got some panels. I got it up there. And then the next day, she bested me again. She's up over 400 million. Game's playing pretty tough. And I got close, but she is sitting in the grand champion mode right now, so I will let her enjoy herself. Thanks for listening. Thanks for all the kind comments. We got some really good ones. One of the first comments I got the other day after episode 2 was posted was somebody said, "You're a fool. You can't drive a sedan and be in this hobby." And he was very correct. That has turned out to be a problem at sometimes. So welcome. Hope everyone's doing fine. It's Wednesday night late, and just throwing up episode 3, getting ready to take a big road trip up to the great Pacific Northwest soon. Hopefully going to play some pinball while I'm out there. So yeah, Teresa, she's kicking butt on my Twilight Zone. That's nice. It's also day number 5 that I've still not hit the Lost in the Zone mode, which is depressing. I was hoping to have gotten there by now, but I am on 3-ball. I'm not gimmicking the game up. No 5 balls. No real flat game. It's set up pretty steep. It's good. Slick playfield. So I had a friend coming over to play some tennis the other day, and Teresa started a game. We were just impromptu kind of going back and forth. She and I will often play a 2-player game now that I have this Twilight Zone game, which she's sort of, in love with like I am. So we'll go back and forth. And neither one of us seem to score super high scores when we do that. And I think her first ball on this particular game was, she might have scored like 40 or 50 million, and she and I both hit that pretty often. Well, my friend was about to arrive, so I was kind of in and out of the room, checking the front door, watching for my buddy Eric. And her second ball, she just couldn't miss. She was hitting the ramps over and over, the piano shots, the slot machines, over and over and over. It was just racking the score up. I think she had 2 extra balls banked. And I could tell I think she had beat the power already on this one ball, like 2 times, and she was well up over 200 million, I think even closing in on 300 million, all on her second ball with 2 saved extra balls. And just, I kind of had a feeling my high score at the time was coming back down, and she was going to get her initials up. So Eric showed up, and he actually knocked on the door and let him in, and he came in, and he's kind of loud. He's sort of famous for being a real loud talker and can fill up a room with his voice really quick, and I kind of was like, shh, quiet. I didn't want to upset her, because it's one thing that'll make Teresa really mad is if you cause her to drain a ball. And I knew her game was going good, so I just kind of stood and watched. And it was funny a couple times. She's like, "What's that mean? What's that mean? What's a spiral award? What do I do?" And like, "Where do I shoot?" And I was actually telling her where to shoot, which in hindsight, I probably should shut my mouth and let her play her own game. But I think at the end of her second ball, after all the multi-balls all the extra balls were all said and done, she was at 320 million, and my high score was, I think, 340. So I was in trouble. She had a ball left. Although I will say this, she drained one of her extra balls like right away. It just hit the bumpers, and I don't know if you're real familiar with Twilight Zone. The bumpers are sort of lower left side of the game, and it's very easy for the ball to come shooting out of the bumpers right down the left out lane. And she did lose one of her free balls just almost immediately, so she could have done even better. But anyway, Eric was kind of in and out on the phone, and I just watched her just rack the score up, and she was in the middle of her third ball when she passed my score, and I was like, "Yep, it's done." And she was getting pretty excited. So it's great. It's great that she's enjoying the game. I'm enjoying the game. Made a few little adjustments here and there, trying to get the my little out lane issue where the ball's hopping across the out lane diverter over into the plunger lane fixed, and I got that pretty much tightened up. Fixed the flippers, did some adjustments there. They're pretty good. I'm sort of in the back of my head planning a flipper rebuild. I think they could be a bit stronger, but I'll probably do that when I get back from this road trip she and I are taking. So, episode 3, it's going to be sort of freeform tonight. We are going to jump right into, on a related note to Teresa playing pinball, into some forum static.
Forum static.
I saw a great post on the Pinside forum in the All Pinball section, and it was just real simply put a question: does your wife play pinball? And we'll just say wife/girlfriend. Teresa's not my wife. She is my girlfriend. She does live here. She's asleep in the other room. And it was pretty interesting reading through this thread. It was a pretty full thread. I think they had a poll at the top with almost 200 votes. And when I was making notes for the show, I know that the answer that was winning was no, which surprised me. I think it was pretty even between yes and no, and I was really surprised that the no was winning. And then I looked down and saw that there was another column that said wife and kids also had a large percentage of the vote. So all told, well over 50% of the people that answered said that their wife did play pinball, which is good to see. There was some really funny responses, people making jokes or saying what games their wives would play. And I thought that was a pretty interesting thing, because when Teresa watched me first really get into the hobby, I get obsessed with things, and I started just really obsessing, going to the Kearney Mesa Bowl here in San Diego. And at the time, their lineup was AC/DC Premium there, I believe. Yeah, Premium there. I had a really nice Monster Bash. They had a decently kept Funhouse, and then they had a Demolition Man. And Teresa came once or twice, and she did like AC/DC quite a bit. I think she liked Monster Bash a lot. She did not like Funhouse or Demolition Man. And she was kind of into it. I don't know that she loved hanging out in a bowling alley, whereas I would go after work sometimes for an hour or two and play. And it was really the first AC/DC I'd seen. This was last year when I really started getting back into playing pinball. And AC/DC had just come out, so I was excited, and I'd never seen a game that was lit up like that and had the sounds, and it played so fast, and I think that sort of excited her too, 'cause she'd be jumping up and down playing as we went, so that was fun. But I didn't get the feeling that she was really, oh my gosh, in love with pinball or anything of the sort. She was humoring me and enjoying it on some level. We took a road trip, though, and I can actually pinpoint the moment where I think the pinball bug bit the gorgeous Teresa on the butt. We were visiting some of my family, and part of my family lives in far eastern Oregon, like basically on the Idaho border. So we're talking Malheur County, Oregon, in the Boise time zone. The time zone actually juts out of Idaho into Oregon a little bit. So if you live in far eastern Oregon, like I did when I was in high school, you're basically living in Idaho. With no sales tax in Oregon. So we were out and about. I think we were in the town of Ontario, which is the closest town of any size to where my mom lives. And I had it in my head that the bowling alley in Ontario, which is called the Sunset Lanes, had a little game room, but I couldn't really remember. It'd been years and years since I had gone bowling there. I mean, maybe 15 years since I had gone there. And we went in to have lunch and do a little just shopping in Ontario, and there's not a lot of places to shop in Ontario. This is a town of, I think 13,000 maybe. I might even be high on that number. But we were eating lunch, and I said, hey, would you mind if we ran over to the bowling alley and we looked to see if there was a pinball machine? And she kind of gave me the, okay, we'll do it. And as we walked in, I could see through the little window divider wall in the Sunset Lanes the lights of a beautiful Tales of the Arabian Nights machine in the middle of nowhere, basically. So we went in. I was excited. I think I got $10 in quarters and just started shoving them in that game. And she was like, oh, this is cool. This is pretty. She'd never seen one. It was actually the first Tales of the Arabian Nights I had ever played. I'd never seen one on location before. So I really enjoyed getting to spend some time on that machine. But more so than that, I started hearing Teresa say, oh, this is really cool. This is fun. She loved the spinning lamp. I think the spinning lamp was just, something really, really neat and different. She was really excited about that. She loved the flow of the game where you're going through the different, I don't know what they term them, the Tales, I believe. The Tales of the Arabian. Yeah, there you go. So the Tales. It's a game that kind of what's going on. It has great animations, and it's a John Papadou design, and I mean the guy's a genius. And the game is one of those interesting games to me that it's both incredibly difficult. I mean, to really work your way all the way through the tails and get through the game, I think it's pretty tough. But it's also a game where you can keep the ball going a long time and you can actually get a lot done. And there is a lot on there. There's all sorts of different multi-balls. The skill shot's sort of neat with you're shooting the skill shot on the right side is into like the snake charming baskets. And I think that's just sort of cool and kind of grabs you in a little bit. The fireball mode, when you light the one ramp, is very cool. It's just a really neat game, and Teresa fell in love. And unfortunately, she has a tendency to fall in love with A-list expensive machines that are both hard to find because there's only a little over 3,000 of those made, and they're expensive. But just the fact that she really connected with the game was awesome, because this is the girl I plan on spending my life with, and the fact that she's into that is awesome. This was also the middle of winter, and it was freezing cold, so what a great thing to kind of do. It wasn't like we were wasting a beautiful day inside a dark bowling alley. We were hanging out in the warmth, playing a game, enjoying each other. We were swapping back and forth on a two-player game. And I remember very specifically that first day we were in there in the Sunset Lanes. We got down, and I think we had just enough for one game left, credit-wise, in the game. And I said, hey, I'm just going to play this last credit, figuring, I'm the kind of the pinball guy. And she goes, no, let me. So that's kind of where we ended up. She enjoyed it so much. The next day, it was either the next day or the day after, we went back. And this was like a 30-minute drive, out kind of in the middle of nowhere. And we drove all the way back to the bowling alley and went and played again for another little bit. And she was really getting into the rules, really reading about it. So that was fun. So Tales of the Arabian Nights is definitely on my list of games that if I found one that I could afford at the time, I would absolutely have to try and pick up some way or another. And that sort of plays into the forum static topic of does your wife play pinball? Pretty interesting. The guy that started the thread, his name was, I think, Bears. Let me get this right. Give him some credit here. His name was BearsFan27. Here was his question. He says, I recently bought a couple of new games from separate individuals, and both of their wives enjoyed playing. One had 12 games on his main floor, just outside his kitchen, in the family room. Very cool. How nice this was, Bears fan says. He said his wife enjoyed them as much as he did. The other had his in his finished basement, but it was the main room, and it looked great also. His wife and a whole family enjoyed playing them as well. I, however, this is Bears fan, have a wife that never plays. She gives me one room in an unfinished part of my basement, and that's it. She never even goes in there except to feed the cats. Oh, and by the way, the litter box is also in this room. Been there, done that. So I have to share it with them. The kids used to play, but they've grown up and moved out, but still play when they visit. So I was just curious how many of you had wives that also played, and if you had better game room conditions because of it. Any hints on how to get them interested? So to Bears fan, if you happen to hear this podcast, I would say it's all about finding the right game. The first game I brought home was a Street Fighter 2 game that I went and got really, really cheap that actually needed a little bit of work, and I'm pretty handy and kind of liked the challenge and worked on it. I didn't love the game. It is what it is. Street Fighter 2 gets knocked on a lot because the artwork's bad. It actually has some fun shots in it. There's a couple of very difficult shots in that game, so it is fun. Has a completely linear storyline, and I'm a guy who's really into the storylines of pinball machines, and I think you'll find that out about me over time. I'm not a big guy who chases high scores as much as, I'm trying to get lost in the zone over here. I don't really care about hitting 1 billion points. I'd rather get to the lost in the zone mode. And Street Fighter 2 is a game that has this kind of progressive storyline, but it is super easy to follow. I think anybody just walking up to it could kind of get what you're aiming for. Flashing white lights, go, go, go. And Teresa really liked it. And in fact, I think when I sold Street Fighter 2, she still had the high score on it. Shocking, I know. She enjoyed the game a lot. And when I picked up a Party Zone after that, she would always say she liked Street Fighter 2 better. And I thought Party Zone was just more fun, it was faster, and whatnot. So it's all about the game, really. I know Teresa and I have spent much time playing pinball, since then. We spent a whole long 6-hour evening at the Pinball Hall of Fame in Las Vegas, and I do remember that night she really was into the Transformers game. She really liked Stargate was a game that popped out to her. I think she liked Star Trek: The Next Generation that night. She's kind of a sci-fi nerd, as much as she doesn't want to come off like it sometimes. She sounds all cute and sexy on the little bumpers there. But she's a little bit of a sci-fi nerd. I think if I were to bring home, say, like a Nightmare on Elm Street, or if that had been the first game I'd have brought home, she'd be done. She has told me, without a doubt, do not bring a Nightmare on Elm Street game home. It will freak her out. I travel for work. She doesn't want to be alone with Freddy's weird head in the back of the game, I guess. I think the question is, what about Tales from the Crypt? Because I would love a Tales from the Crypt, but I think that also might be a little creepy. So it's all about the game. Her favorites overall right now, and like I said, she likes expensive games. She loves Tales of the Arabian Nights. Attack from Mars is one of her favorite games. There's one here at a bowling alley in San Diego that she loves to go play. It's a lot of fun. And she's like, why can't you get one of these? And I'm like, because I need a second job. I think she really loves Twilight Zone. I think Twilight Zone's really grown on her. I noticed when we played out in the field, she didn't quite understand what was going on, and that would frustrate her a little bit. But now that she's had some time in front of it, it's exciting to her. We play at a place in Solana Beach, California sometimes that has a Pirates of the Caribbean and a Scared Stiff, and she likes those quite a bit too. So, the kind of general all audience type games seem to appeal to her, and that may translate to a lot of people's wives. That's the game. I was trying to think of it. She loves South Park. She loves South Park. She thinks it's so fun, and that was one where I think that was the first game where she got a lot of long ball times. We would play at Nickel City here in SoCal, and I would be sitting there, playing Indiana Jones, and she just really got into South Park. Then she found Tron, started playing Tron. That was also another one. She did really well. It was exciting to her. She's a sci-fi buff. She loved the theme. Theme is very important to the beautiful Teresa. So, would love to hear back from what your wife's favorite games are. This thread on Pinside, definitely check it out. It's full of stuff. I did notice somebody else mentioned Scared Stiff. Somebody said my wife's favorite game is Medieval Madness. Yeah, Teresa loves that one too. Anytime trolls pop out of a playfield, she's into that. So, like I said, A-list expensive titles. So another thread that kind of grabbed my attention in the Pinside forum, and I gotta say, Pinside has the best forum for pinball on the internet, just without a doubt. The most active, kind of the best in-depth stuff. If you need tech help, go to Pinside. Somebody will help you. It's very cool. So this other one that jumped out at me, it said, "It's official, pinball!" ! Is for shysters. So first, grammatically, we're just all wrong here, I must say. But what he's trying to say is, it's official, pinball is for shysters, ! This is tongue-in-cheek, obviously, this post, but I think there's some actual real content here to kind of discuss. Chaz010 from Waterloo says, LOL, I called on a local Addams family for sale, and the first thing the guy says was, I ain't selling this cheap so someone can flip it for $1,000 more on me. Well, I think that speaks to the fact that most hobbies are like that. The internet's out there. I know in my industry, I work in the musical instrument industry, the rare finds on used guitars and amplifiers have decreased dramatically since the age of the internet has been ushered in, because you can find out what stuff's worth. So it doesn't surprise me. And I guess he's also aware of the fact that there are a lot of guys who will kind of put out those ads, we'll buy your old pinball machine, doesn't need to be working, etc., just in the hopes of grabbing that really cheap, gem Attack from Mars for $1,500, because maybe it doesn't quite work right, putting a little money into it and flipping it for $1,000 or more. Well, this all is very timely for me, because I was at work yesterday, and I browse Craigslist like crazy. I'm slightly addicted, and I'm always looking. And I jumped on the Los Angeles area Craigslist, one of the sub Craigslist for Los Angeles, and it said, check out my pinball machines and video games for sale. Pretty kind of generic, and I don't always even normally click on those ads. Well, I clicked on it, just to see what the games were. And these giant high-res pictures of the Addams Family pop up, just like this guy's saying. And it was a really nice, Addams Family, maybe, 7 out of 10, just from what I looked at on the photos. And I scrolled down, and then high-res pictures of a Taxi popped up. Another game I kind of like. Scroll down a little farther, and I am completely forgetting what the third game was, but it was a solid state game that I pre-DMD that I just can't remember. And I'm scrolling through these pictures, and in my head, you see an Addams Family, you think you're in $5,000 to $8,000, $5,000 on the low end, and I'm like, where's the price on this thing? And I'm only even half looking at it at this point because I'm like, I don't have the money to buy Addams Family. I just bought Twilight Zone, whatever. And I scroll up, and it's $2,900. And I read it again real quick to look, wait, this thing doesn't work? What's wrong with it? I look at the pictures again. And then I'm trying to make sure that $2,900 is for the Addams Family, not for Taxi. And I see that Taxi is listed at $600. And so is the game down at the bottom, which I believe was what's the truck game? The big rig trucking game. I think that's whatever that game is that I'm blanking on right now. That's what it was. Also $600. So now I've got the phone in my hand and I'm dialing this guy's number. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. And Addams Family for $2,900. And I'm on the phone, I'm calling, and and I'm thinking this is a scam. There's been fake postings in LA many times. No way. And in my head, I'm like, how am I going to get this game back to San Diego? When was this posted? I'm scrambling. I'm in full on scramble mode. And I look, and it's been up for about 90 minutes. And in my head, I'm like, that's too long. Somebody's already seen this. And I call, and the guy answers. He's like, hello. And I'm like, hey, calling about your Addams Family machine and your Taxi machine. He goes, yeah. I'm like, you still have them? And the fact that he said, yeah, I got excited. And he goes, well, I do still have them. And I'm like, cool. And he said, but a guy is on his way to come look at them. And I'm like, oh. I was like, well, he'll buy them. And the guy says, yeah. I'm like, I'll just be honest with you, man. I'm in San Diego. You have a very fair price. He goes, well, no, I know the price is low. I just really need to sell these machines right away. And I'm like, you'll sell them. And he said, well, why don't I take your number down in case the guy doesn't? I'm like, here's the deal. I'm not going to be shady and offer you more money than you're asking to undercut the guy coming over, because I know people do that, and that's lame. This is a 2-hour drive from me, by the way, we're talking about here, so I've got to keep that in mind. And I did just buy, a Twilight Zone. And I said, here's the deal. If the deal falls through, call me, and I will PayPal you the money tonight for the Taxi and the Addams Family. He said, really? I said, yep, tonight. Sight unseen. Because the pictures were good enough that I could tell I wasn't going to lose if I got an Addams Family for $2,900. I think we can all come to the conclusion that I did not hear from this gentleman, that whoever that was out there in LA who saw that ad and got over there got quite a score. These gems like that that doesn't pop up very often anymore. I mean, I've seen some B-list games pop up cheap, but boy, Addams Family for $2,900, it's pretty good. So congratulations on whoever it was out there that snagged that. I am jealous. Addams Family and Twilight Zone would be an interesting combo to have in this room here, as they both have a bit of the same sort of feel to me, sort of. A lot of tight stuff over on the left side, and then all the real money stuff up on the upper right or sort of center area. But I think they'd be very cool, and if I could ever snag an Addams Family for $2,900, I'd be all over it. Are you like me? Are you guys watching Craigslist and eBay all the time? I do it a lot. I'm constantly looking. I've even set up little alert services that will alert me for anything in San Diego, specifically it says pinball, just because I want to know if there's a deal. I want to go get it. My job allows me a little bit of freedom as far as jumping on the net throughout the day. In fact, when I called the guy from my office phone and was like, hey, I want to Addams Family, 3 different guys, because I work with a bunch of guys around my age, all were like, yeah, go Nate, get another machine. And in my head, I was like, I would be lucky to. So I don't know if you guys are obsessive like I am, but I'm always looking for the right deal and trying to always keep a little bit of money free in my life that I could go jump on a machine. And I'll drive for a machine. If I find the right thing, when I do eBay searches, I search up to 300 miles. If I find the right thing in Phoenix, I'll drive to Phoenix. I'm into this thing, man. I'm looking for certain machines, and if there's a Doctor Who or a WWF out there, I'm gonna go get it. So if the price is right, but the Addams Family was not to be. we're going to talk about my Party Zone machine, because this machine may not last much longer. I've actually had a couple offers from people I know, and I don't know, I think this machine's kind of a great spot to do some highlights and lowlights.
Highlights and lowlights.
So let me tell you how I got this machine. I won this on a good old-fashioned auction on eBay. It was up for auction locally, and it hovered at a pretty low number. I think it was hovering like $700 from the bulk of the auction. And I was watching it. Party Zone was a game I'd only played once or twice. I played it. Where did I play this? Don't recall. Maybe it was Pinball Hall of Fame. And but it's a game that has some cool features. Party Zone is kind of based around this moving head. We'll talk about that in a second. Anyway, I was sort of watching that, and I put in a bid sniper thing. I don't know if any of you guys do that on auctions on eBay, where you have an automated bid for you in the last 5-10 seconds of the auction, so you don't drive the price up. I've been buying and selling on eBay for a lot of years and sort of know the techniques and how to win. And this game, to me, so it had some issues. It had, the paint is all worn off of the Captain Bizarre's head. Captain Bizarre is sort of the DJ for the party at the Party Zone, and his head is this rubber head that moves around in the center, follows the ball from the center of the machine. It's pretty cool, like animatronics sort of type of deal. And all the paint was worn off his head, so his head no longer looks like a flying hat, which is what it's supposed to, because he drives his rocket ship into the ozone. It's supposed to be red. His head on my game looks like a flesh-colored, bumpy, like a brain. It looks like his brain is uncovered. The playfield also had some really rough spots. Somebody at some point had tried to either do some touch-up on some worn playfield spots, like right in the center, right above the flippers, because it looks like there's some extra paint that at one point had maybe been put on, or else they tried to use some sort of chemical to do like a deep clean right there and really kind of fouled it up. Also, the game was filthy. I mean, like, filthy, filthy, filthy. It's a diamond-plated game, playfield, but there was just dirt everywhere. It was really, really dirty. And you can see in the pictures, the guy selling it sells a lot of high-end games, and it's the guy I ended up actually buying my Twilight Zone from. And he said everything worked, a little dirty. You can see the playfield spots. It was a no-reserve auction. The front of the game, which normally has, art on it that goes along with the kind of crazy art on the sides and on the back glass, or translate, had been painted solid black. So the whole front, the coin door, and all the area around the start button and the plunger are all solid black. So that's not original either. Definitely some issues with the game. That being said, the ramps were in great shape. And this game has these clear plastic ramps that are ramps like I've never seen on another game, because it's almost like they don't have full sides. They don't go all the way up. They're sort of flat, but they're just curved enough to keep the ball on. They're very unique. And if you read forums and look into info on Party Zone, one of the first things you find out is don't break the ramp, because there are no replacement ramps out there for this game. It just wasn't that popular of a game. Nobody's losing sleep over a game that I think normally sells probably in the the $1,400 to $2,000 range, depending on how good a shape it's in and what part of the country you're in. So the ramps were great on this, and the seller claimed everything worked. All the plastics were there. The head moved, the mouth moved up and down. When he talks, the mouth will actually move up and down. But like I said, really, really dirty game. So I put in a number for my auction sniper that was sort of like, if I get it for that, it's worth it. And I fully expected not to get it. I had looked and seen what games were selling for. It's a DMD game. It's a Bally DMD game, from the early 90s. I mean, if you can get that sort of game for under, most of them, anything under $1,300, that's a good deal on most games. I guess there's the rare exceptions. But a Bally DMD game, and I think my bid was like, I'd have to go back and look, but I want to say it was $1,070 or something like that. And lo and behold, I won the game. Not even remembering. All of a sudden, my phone, buzzed me that I had an email, and I looked down and said, "You've just won Party Zone." And I was kind of like, "Oh yeah, oh man, I gotta go get it," because I gotta rent, I had to rent or borrow a van or an SUV to go get the game. But I did. I went and got it. And I gotta say, it was a lot of fun. This game has been fun. It plays fast. I LED'd the whole thing. I took literally every lamp out of this game and put in LEDs. The flashers, the inserts, the back box, everything. LEDs, so that it's bright, it's cool, it looks good. The captain's head worked great. The mouth part of it, the up and down part, has been really touchy. Sometimes it comes in and works for a while, and then sometimes it stops working. So that probably needs a little tender love and care. The worn playfield, the spots where somebody tried to touch it up, it's kind of ugly, but you know what? Once you're playing the game, I don't think I've ever noticed it during the game. It's not perfect, and it's sort of made me wonder a little bit about, did I make a mistake buying this? Because a lot of people have seen that I've shown this to, that were maybe interested in buying a game or two that I had, and gone, oh, I wish I didn't have that. And I'm like, yeah, but you get a deal. So we'll see. I actually have somebody who wants to buy this game from me now pretty badly, and that's why I thought I'd talk about it a little bit tonight. So sort of the highlights of the game to me are the Captain Bizarre head. It's cool. One of the other unique features of this game, it was one of the first games where you could actually choose your music. When you hit a certain shot, and you hit the request time shot, which is actually right in front of the captain's head, it's this little like sunken target where it's like the ball just drops in and sticks there. You get to choose one of 4 songs. And they actually, remember this game was from late 80s, I guess. I think it's early 90s. It's actually late 80s. I think it's 88, right in that area. This game licensed Pinball Wizard by The Who. So you actually can choose Pinball Wizard, which is pretty cool because, that's sort of like, that's our theme song, right? Pinball Wizard. So that's pretty neat. The other songs are sort of generic, like there's one called Chicken Feet, which is like a country pickin' song. There's one called Defunct, which is like funk, obviously, and then Safe Sax, which is like saxophone bad music. I almost always pick Pinball Wizard when I hit that shot and get to choose. It's funny because if you don't hit that shot for a while, the captain, he goes into, I'll play one of my favorites, or here's one of my favorites, and he starts singing like feelings, which is silly. And then if you hit that shot after he starts singing, you get like 5 million points. So when you're just trying to score, it's actually in your best interest not to hit that shot. Let him start singing, then hit it. Pretty cool. The whole idea of this game, and this game sort of loosely relates in with another game called Dr. Dude, because Dr. Dude from the Dr. Dude game makes an appearance in the Party Zone. The whole concept of Party Zone here is that you're trying to gather 3 groups of people and get them all to happy hour, and then you're going to blast off from happy hour with your rocket fuel, and you're going to blast off into the ozone and try and hit the Big Bang shot. And the 3 groups of people you're trying to get to the happy hour are the party animals, the party monsters, yes, like Elvira and the party monsters, and then the party dudes, Dr. Dude. And it's funny, you hit the first shot is the party animals, and it's basically it's like a big dog or a wolf, and he's like in the bar trying to hit on the girl on the DMD animation, and she says, "Get your paws off me." Teresa likes to run around saying, "Get your paws off me." When you hit the second shot, it's the same girl with Dracula, and she says, "Your hands are cold." And then on the third shot, Dr. Dude is there, and he gets the girl. And then you start the part, and then you start the happy hour. And that's a multi-ball, 2-ball multi-ball, where you're trying to hit the fuel shots to build your fuel up, and then you hit the rocket shot, which is the Big Bang, and the Big Bang shot is worth 999,999,999 points. So I have done that shot only a couple times. It's actually harder to do than you think because the multi-ball's hard to keep those balls into the fuel lanes, or I'm just not that good, one or the other. Pretty neat game. It's fairly shallow. There's some awesome features to it. There's this robot head literally on the back box, inside the playfield, but up against the back box, little robot head, and he's the supersonic robotic comic. So when you hit that shot, he tells a joke, and he just kind of chatters, and his mouth moves, and the chatter comes out, and then a few different modes can start off of that. So it's a fun game. It's definitely interesting to look at. Lots of neon colors, like yellow is sort of the color when I think about this game. A lot of yellow on the side. The one that I have, the left side cabinet art, is just like near perfect in absolutely brilliant shape. The right side's faded pretty badly, so I've got it up against a wall on the right side, so I don't have to look at it. Mine's in good shape. I see them, I've seen actually a few of them go for more money lately. I saw one sell for $1,900 recently. I would let mine go back, I've put a lot of LEDs into it, cleaned up the playfield a bunch. I spent a lot of time, uses Novus 2 and even some other things to try and get some of the dirt off that playfield. So now it looks pretty good. I have bought some acrylic paints. Teresa's very artistic. I thought I might give her a go at touching the playfield up a little bit. So we've been talking about doing that. But the problem is there's like a lot of gradients down in that area where it goes from like yellow to like a neon orange, and that's going to be really tough to try and do. So we'll see. I'll probably let this one go soon though. Make room for something else. The lowlights of this game, like I said, shallow. Not a lot to it. You kind of get in a rhythm where you can get extra balls really easy in this game. You can hit the rocket shot over and over and over, and it lights extra ball, which is then the same shot, so you can get that no problem. Some people may not like the theme. It's a little cheesy, little. I don't know, it's out there. Captain Bizarre's sort of creepy in a way. Teresa thinks he's very creepy, actually. And in fact, there's this 3-shot series that you can hit where you hit all these one-sided target banks on the left, these green targets, and it lights the eat shot. And the captain says, hey, let's eat. And so then you have to hit the rocket shot, and that gives you, I think, 1,000,000 points, and you light up eat. So you've got eat. And then it lights, after that, the drink shot, which is in the upper right. It's actually the comic shot. And Dracula says, what about the drink? And you hit the drink shot, and you get another 1,000,000 points. Well, then it's the Be Merry shot. So you've got eat, drink, and be merry. So the Be Merry shot is actually the song shot right in front of the captain. So you've got to hit that shot. And he's creepy. Captain Bizarre is a creepy dude. He goes, hey, come over here. Like he's some sort of pervert or something. So if you do hit that shot, I won't spoil it, but Be Merry is not exactly what you're thinking. So anyway, that's kind of the highlights and lowlights on Party Zone. And I don't know, fun game. It'd be kind of cool to have Dr. Dude and Party Zone right next to each other, because they gotta go hand in hand. And then maybe Elvira and the Party Monsters also, although I think that's actually a better game than both the others. I like Party Zone better than Dr. Dude. I've read a lot of people say the opposite, but I guess I'm more of a Party Zone fan. It is fast. There are some fun shots and cool things. So I think we're going to wrap this episode up. These episodes may get longer as we go. I've got a lot of stuff I want to get into. It's kind of some deeper topics. Maybe have some interviews happening sooner than later. I have a few other local friends who might join us. Teresa may actually make an appearance if I would actually record one of these before she goes to bed, and we'll discuss this, play some things back. I actually did get some questions. Some people want to know some more about my pinball history and whatnot, which I will get to. I just kind of wanted to drop in episode 3 before I hit this road trip. If anybody has any great suggestions for pinball in the Sacramento area, I'll probably be there on my way up. I'm going to be hitting some small towns, then maybe Portland, and then Seattle or the Bremerton, Bainbridge Island side of Seattle. I'll definitely be there over the 4th of July week, and we're going to try and do an episode from the road, so taking the equipment with me. Going to get one out, and we'll go from there. And this is Coast to Coast Pinball. Appreciate the comments. You can find me on Twitter at C2C Pinball. C2C Pinball. There's a Facebook page, Coast to Coast Pinball. Search for it. If you're listening through Podcast Garden, appreciate it. We're also up on iTunes, and I hope to hear more comments from you guys. I really appreciate you listening. My name's Nate. It's been good chatting with you. Talk to you again soon. Thanks a lot.